The world of Dead Space can indeed be a very frightening one, with social commentary on topics such as corruption, greed, and overzealous religions, among other things, which all plays a role in carving a path to the marker takeover, with bringing in the age of the Necromorphs, or the Dead Space. In this video, we will be going through 10 types of Necromorphs throughout the series to see which ones I feel are the most terrifying of the entire horde. Of course, all of these will be my own opinion, including where each is placed, and if you have a different list to me, then feel free to tell me down in the comment section below, and I will be sure to check them out later. But for now, let's move into my top 10 most terrifying Necromorphs in the Dead Space series. The Feeder is a necromorph that is anorexic in design, with the overall appearance being nothing but skin, bones, and fiber. You may wonder what could be so terrifying about these necromorphs, but the appearance is just one piece of this horrifying puzzle. The lore surrounding the Feeders is what makes this spot when the soldiers of the sovereign colonies were forced to consume the flesh of the necromorphs due to having very low shortages of food, which shows us the results with the person slowly turning into a necromorph, starting with the organs, especially when it comes to the logs of Sam Ackerman, when one of the Feeders speaks through the barricaded and locked down doors, pleading with Sam to let them in so that they can consume him, being the first and only instant that a half-turned necromorph had spoken to a survivor of the outbreak, which certainly makes them worthy of this list. However, the Feeders lose points due to being a redesign of the pack necromorphs, with headshots being the only way to take these terrors down, which plays into how the body will feast upon itself when a person or animal is starved to death, with the absence of the muscles and organs. Unlike the pack, however, is the sense of community within the gameplay, as when you first come across the Feeders, you see them feasting on a corpse together in the darkness, but in only small groups. But once they see someone or something different to them, they soon lash out and attack, alerting the nearby main force of these creatures. However, these creatures aren't the only ones that have a sense of community within the darkness. The Stalker Necromorphs are the ones that lurk within the darkness and take down their victim or victims within an unholy team working together to rip their targets apart. The appearance of the body posture looks similar to that of a raptor, which plays into their fighting style. When they see a target, they keep their distance while slowly creeping up behind their victim, essentially stalking those unfortunate enough to cross paths with it. The necromorph is very fast due to its lightweight form, with it being able to leap over obstacles and run straight at their targets and taking them down using their heads, quite literally. However, the scare factor here isn't just in their behavior in stalking their victims, but what they do when they get their claws on them, to which they will knock the person out with a powerful headbutt, or if the person is still resistant towards them, they will rip an arm off, and would take the person by the other hand, and slowly drags them back to their den within the darkness as they slowly bleed out. And it's the thought of being slowly dragged away like a doll that really gets me. But in the next spot, there is a necromorph that takes empathy to an explosive level. With the body being split in two and a large sack of fluid in one hand and the other being enlarged for support, the Exploder Necromorph gets its name from, well, you know. However, similar to the Feeders, this necromorph can make certain sounds, but unlike the fully formed necromorph, this one can use the vocal cords to call out to others with these sounding like words, with my favorite being them calling out for help, which would almost certainly result in an explosive end. which just shows how determined the Necromorphs are in a hostile takeover, with the several lures this creature can create, weaponizing the empathy others would feel when hearing the Necromorph call out to them. However, unlike the Exploder, the next spot is even more disturbing in nature. With the fusion of both man and necromorph, the Guardians are the end result of that union. The disturbing factor here, however, isn't just the overall appearance, but the sounds and origins to this necromorph. The sounds this creature can create emulates the screams of agony that a human would create, that has split the community on if the once alive person is even alive or not, which just proves the convincing job of the necromorph, which is a terrifying aspect of the undead nightmare. However, just imagine a group of survivors had found the origin to these sounds and saw a person wrapped in a sticky, fleshy den, trapped and screaming out to them. As soon as they move closer to the creature and begin tugging and pulling at the skin of the corruption, they are suddenly beheaded. And if that's not bad enough, the necromorph spawns tentacle pods that shoot projectiles, such as bone shards or shrapnel. With the fully formed necromorph, the origins to such a monstrosity could even be more horrific than first realized, with the corruption bonding with a person and acts like a life support to them, which either brings them back to life or is just a lure to bring more humans to them in order to ambush them. But just imagine if it was you, feeling yourself being suspended, unable to move away from that wall that seems to be pulsating with every moment. But when you look down, you see your legs are absent and you have a large hole in your chest. This would ultimately result in a form of insanity taking place. It actually reminds me of the Death Watch reveal where the soldier pulls back the cover on the man's legs and they both can see why he can't feel them anymore, as the rats had slowly been eating them, which is a real horrific moment in an already horrific set of events in human history. However, the next spot takes the innocence of a child and brings it to a whole new deadly level. The crawlers are babies that have turned into necromorphs that can crawl on the floors and walls of their surroundings, and once they are close to their targets, they will explode, creating a bloodbath. But like the pack, these things are unnerving, mainly due to the necromorphs weaponizing the innocence of a child. Just like the introduction of this nightmare, the woman sees the baby and begins to cuddle it when... Ratchet. Also, I have a thing with children and horror games, which often just puts my nope meter all the way to... Oh, hell no! However, that appearance where the death cycle of the body turning the skin color grey, and this image is just unnerving. Like the necromorph looks like it's cracking a smile, knowing it's just got its fresh kill. But the next necromorph is one that looks like you can see right through into their soul, if it had one. With the digestive system getting an upgrade to a deadly level, the Puker does exactly what it says on the tin, with the necromorph vomiting a putrid acid that can burn flesh and even melt steel. However, the haunting part of this necromorph would be the appearance of the face, with the eyes, nose and jawline being melted down, with just the eye holes and a nasal hole left to meet your gaze. It creates a sense of an uncanny valley. The melted and corroded appearance also comes into play into gameplay as well, turning the once hands into claws, which earns the Puker the midway point in this list. However, the next spot would be something that would weaponize the power of stasis. The Twitcher Necromorph is the result of a person becoming infected by the recombinate process in combination with the built-in stasis modules in the rigs of the individuals, which caused the stasis energy to reverse, creating slashes with lightning speeds in their movements, with the necromorphs wearing the victim's suits and often heard muttering a sped-up set of dialogue. However, the most terrifying aspect of the creatures is the death animation, where in the original the Twitcher will slice Isaac so clean and so fast that he doesn't even know what hit him until it is far too late. And after Isaac's two halves collide and each other stumbling to the floor, the Twitcher stares into the camera, which can create a very unnerving experience. However, the next spot may just be the most terrifying, with the most unrelenting of the entire cast of undead nightmares lurking in this video. The Hunter Necromorph was conceived by fusing the corruption found within the ship's decks of the USG Ishimura, with the regenerative abilities of the corruption being implanted into the human brain, and after the necrotization process takes place, the victim becomes a necromorph that appears human but with the arms clinging to the sides, and the muscles and bones from the back and chest forming bone blades, forming new appendages. The fear factor for me is just how closely the necromorph resembles a person, with it being a mix between human and necromorph, but also the fact that the hunter stalks the player throughout the game after its introduction in Chapter 5, when you can hear the groans and growls of this creature in the vents or in the nearby areas, but with the added effect of the regenerative abilities means that it will always come back for more. And you can only pump so much ammo into it until you hear the ominous clicking sound. But the appearance of the next necromorph on this list will send shudders down your spine and is the most frightening in my opinion. What would happen if you took the iconic Slender Man and crossed paths with the necrotized infection? Well, you would probably end up with the Divider Necromorph, with it bearing a slight resemblance to the iconic nightmare fuel. The creature can often be heard way before you actually see it, with the nightmare-induced wail sounds it creates. And the first time you actually see it is a chilling sight, with it coming around the corner, which towers over Isaac, stemming at least 7 feet tall, with massive claws and a body that appears to have the inside scooped out. Creates a very unnerving sight to behold. However, if that's not bad enough, once the body has taken enough damage, it will fall over, and body parts will move independently, with the head, the arms, the legs, and the spine coming to life in order to kill their victims. The Divider's appearance for me is the reason I placed it so high on the list, but what if there was a necromorph that was considered a god? One that can creep into your mind when you least suspect it? Well, you could probably guess what is coming next. And finally, we have come to what I call the apex predator of the necromorph species, the Brethren Moon. The Brother Moons consist of at least one of the markers that have used their gravitational abilities to lift all the necromorphs and have bonded with the infection to create an ungodly force that would even haunt the most badass of individuals, with its ability to create a signal and to send that signal to all of the markers within the known galaxy. and their locations. With that being said, because the moons create the signal, they also possess all of the abilities of the markers, with the ability to bestow dementia onto those that comes into contact with it, allowing for highly advanced forms of hallucinations, breaching the barriers between fantasy and reality. With that comes manipulation and reverse psychology and getting what it wants, which is the assimilation of all other life forms in the universe, which had led to the space around humanity becoming a lifeless dead space. The Brethren Moon can also store necromorphs within its mass, within cocoons, which means that if it was ever to come into contact with a planet, then it can send necromorphs down to round up the creatures to be further added to the death toll, which with all of these abilities spoken about in combination makes it the most disturbing and terrifying necromorph to ever have plagued humanity, or any species for that matter. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, then hit the like button, comment your thoughts below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Sign up to join the British Alliance today by hitting the subscribe button and ringing in the notification bell, and allow all updates in order to always be notified when new content is made available and when I go live. A special thank you to the channel members for your extra mile support, which helps me to do what I love so much more, and if you would like to join the members guild, then hit the join button today. Before we end this video, however, there is one thing I would like to talk about, and that is the new series I will be making monthly, which will be called Legends from the Past, or of the Past, whichever sounds better in my opinion, which will be a members only series which is available to the Legends members only, which will shine a light on the more influential members of society or stardom, showing their past and how they became a legend in history. And with that out of the way, I wish you all to leave this video having a good one.